What's up, everybody, and welcome back to Multiverse Monologues, the podcast show where we like to travel across the multiverses and fandoms that we love to talk about the movies and television shows that accompany those universes. And for the last 2 years, we here at Multiverse Monologues have been talking about a universe in particular, the Marvel universe. And for 2 years, we reviewed 57 Marvel films, and now we're taking a break. And that break starts now, because here is the start of the Star Wars marathon. Back in the day, back in February of 2022, I guess it was, we didn't really know where it was going to go, but we know where this podcast is going to go, because we are going to be reviewing every single Star Wars film and a few extras, which we will talk about. Me, Ben Rayside, and also joining us on this epic journey that is the Star Wars movie marathon is, first and foremost, Mr. Ethan Wensloff. Ethan, how are you?
I think we all are pretty excited for this one. If you're watching the video, you see we are dressed up in our really stupid Star Wars drip. But we're pumped for this.
Yours is stupid, but mine's not
right.
stupid.
I've
got a pouch.
Your onesie has a pouch. Mine doesn't. I'm really upset by that. But one would call us lucky that we get to do something like this. But we've been around long enough, and we know that in our experience, there's no such thing as luck.
Yes,
So-
I will say, I agree with you on that point of luck, but luck is always involved when you're with Mr. Micah. Micah, how are you?
Hello there. I am doing quite well today. I narrowly avoided getting lost in the desert. I was picked up by some Jawas on the way here, zapped a little bit, but I still taste the electric in my mouth, but I'm all right.
Looking forward to talk
You
about
need some blue milk to wash your mouth.
I will
out
need
from
some
that
blue milk.
electric
I
shock.
hope my aunt and uncle don't get clipped.
I know they do make blue milk if you go to Galaxy's Edge. I've never tasted it.
We'll make our own blue milk.
I wonder how it tastes. I've always wondered that. But now we're going to be talking about the taste of Star Wars, or as it has been redubbed, Star Wars Episode 4, A New Hope. All these years later, this movie released in 1977, and we are here to talk about it in 2024. A long, long time ago is when this movie was released, and we are all super pumped to talk about it. So, gentlemen, without further ado, let's hit the hyperdrive and head over to the Star Wars universe.
The original, legendary Star Wars is back. The most popular film of all time, Star Wars. Coming back to your galaxy for 2 weeks only. Star Wars, the Force will be with you.
It is a period of civil war. Rebel spaceships striking from a hidden base have won their first victory against the evil Galactic Empire. During the battle, Rebel spies managed to steal secret plans to the Empire's ultimate weapon, the Death Star, an armored space station with enough power to destroy an entire planet. Pursued by the Empire's sinister agents, Princess Leia races home aboard her starship, custodian of the stolen plans that can save her people and restore freedom to the galaxy.
Man, I wonder how they got those plans.
Man, and if
cool
that
if they made a
sounds
movie.
familiar, Rogue One, A Star Wars Story tells that. But back in 1977, this was audiences' first taste of the universe that George Lucas and company created. A title crawl, very akin to the Flash Gordon serials of the late 30s and 40s. And yet here it is in 1977 on a huge feature film. And obviously, I mean, we are so many years removed, 45 plus years from Star Wars, what would eventually become A New Hope. But guys, I just gotta know, after all these years, I mean, I know Ethan and we reviewed this, but there was something missing. There was something, and that's Micah had,
big
of
chunk
course,
missing,
of
yeah.
course. And now we can do this
Big chunk?
officially on the marathon.
Is that my name?
No, not that you're a big chunk, Micah, but you're a big chunk of this panel.
That's true.
I'm afraid of it.
The marathon would not be what it
It would
is
be
without
like
Mr.
Star
Head.
Wars without Han Solo.
Exactly.
Just wouldn't be right.
We don't reissue an episode unless A, it's the holiday special, or B, I'm in it.
That's right.
Yes, true.
So we're here to talk about this movie again, and I know we've been putting off a lot of these Star Wars films in preparation for this marathon. I know I haven't seen a lot of, especially the newer films, in a long time, knowing that this would be in the docket in years to come, and we're finally here to do it now. Star Wars Episode 4, A New Hope, directed and written by George Lucas. He would not do that again until his prequel films. And there's a lot of divisiveness that comes with it, but I will say this, judging from scores and just judging from Ethan and I's previous conversations and stuff, well, I mean, we're huge fans of Star Wars, particularly
a lot
New
can
Hope.
change in a year, Ben.
Without a doubt,
You know?
it can. Without a doubt. And I will say this, Star Wars is one of those franchises that, and we've talked about this before, but the difference in opinion and the heat of discussion in the Star Wars franchise is like nothing I have seen in any internet community. The MCU has kind of gotten to that point recently, but it's more of just a disappointment than it is. But Star
Even
Wars
then,
fans, you have Star Wars fans that will die on hills that are just insane, and other ones that are just, it makes for very interesting discussion.
Right, like we did 57 Marvel films and no one's really like fighting us over, okay, you put whatever Punisher above Howard the Duck, like you're crazy. But there's such a small number of these films in comparison, and yeah, the opinion on them differ greatly, and not only online and in the fandom, but on this panel they differ greatly. So that's why this will be really fun. As Han Solo puts it, originally this is where the fun begins. So
Yes.
I'm excited.
I think it might be because there are so few movies. I mean, nowadays, a movie like Captain Marvel with huge discourse comes out, or not Captain Marvel, The Marvels comes out. There's huge discourse, but I mean, it fades within a month, but we know that there's going to be more. But Star Wars, we haven't had a feature film since Rise of Skywalker in 2019.
5 years, yeah.
It's been 5 years.
Which
It'll be another couple years.
Sounds
too.
absurd thinking that, because the gaps that previous fans had to wait for new movies was absurd. So 5 years is
Distance between a trilogy was
Right.
10 years between prequel and sequel, and then 20 years between 15 or 16 years between Phantom Menace and Return.
And that Return of the Jedi Phantom Menace one must have been just so hard to deal with. I know there was a lot of books and comics, but man, the Star Wars that we are being fed now is so much more of an increase than it was back then, and it's just it's truly a different experience.
so much, the fandom's so much different now too.
And I think there is a point that we can all pinpoint, like it was at that moment that truly sparked all these different communities. But we'll get to that. Right now we're just in 1977. But before we get into that movie, Micah, you've created a Star Wars spreadsheet. You want to tell the audience every single project we're going to be ranking and reviewing?
Sure. Yeah. So in our spreadsheet, I've already got our internet rankings set up, ready to go, with Rotten Tomatoes, critic user, Metacritic user, Letterboxd, IMDb, and then average those out. So we have a score from the internet, and then we have our own scores that we'll be finding out here. We have another Hollywood Reporter ranking that I threw in there.
Oh, really?
Yes, Hollywood Reporter has a ranking. They don't have Rise of Skywalker in there, or the Clone Wars film or the Ewok films.
Do we
or
know
Hollywood.
if it was the same people who created both lists?
I don't know. I can check that out, but
We'll
yeah.
have to check that one.
So we're doing all the normal movies, 1 through 9, and then we've got the 2 Ewok movies, Caravan of Courage and Ewok Adventure from 1984.
Yes,
We're
sir.
going to be doing
Ewoks.
that, yep.
The Battle for Endor came out the next year in 85, and we've got the Clone Wars film from 2008. We've got Rogue One, a Star Wars story from 2016, and we've got Solo, a Star Wars story from 2018. So a good 15 movies.
15 projects,
15
which we're going to be
projects,
reviewing.
including the holiday special, but you guys already reviewed it. I'm going to be watching it and giving my
Yeah,
review
good luck.
just briefly in our Ewoks episode, so keep an eye out for that.
This was not a problem for us to rewatch, but Ethan and I really drew the line. It was like, I'll watch this once, and I don't think I'll ever watch it again.
we're good.
If I put it on, will you guys not watch it with me?
I'll watch it with you just for the
Okay.
support.
Okay.
Of,
I
like,
think I might need support.
listen, I guarantee you will need support, because it's something. It's definitely something. But yeah, the Ewok films we're going to be doing together, so they're not going to be double episodes. We're going to pack both of those films into one podcast. And that leaves us with 15 projects to rank and review. This equals out to every one of these projects were released in theaters in some way. Now, we're not reviewing every Star Wars project. There are a few Clone Wars arcs and a few Rebels arcs that were released in theaters that we will not be covering. We're going to keep this solely based in film format. So that leaves us with 15 projects, much less than 57 Marvel projects. And we start with, obviously, Star Wars Episode 4, A New Hope.
Star Wars, the first Star Wars.
The first one, man. All the way back in 1977. I know I watched a lot behind the scenes for this in preparation just for this podcast, but I want to shoot this out to Mr. Wentzloff first. What do you remember about this film in particular, and how did you watch it this time?
So what I remember growing up is I never remember watching this for the first time. This has always been a part of my life. Just, we had the VHSs and those would go in the VCR and you'd watch those on repeat. So I'm not sure when my first time watching this was, because I think my dad just showed it to me when I was a child and I just rewatched it on repeat. But yeah, I loved it, man. This is my Star Wars. These first three specifically, I'm excited. But this time watching it, I watched it also with my dad. And I watched it with my 7-year-old brother for the first time. He had never seen this movie.
Wow.
So I got to watch it with my dad again, who's seen it many, many times with me. I watched it with my brother, who's never seen it. It was also fun because my brother's 7. My dad saw this movie in theaters when he was 7. So you got you got that really cool parallel. And you kind of see how my dad kept leading over to my brother Marcus a lot. Like, dude, he didn't say it like this, but I'll paraphrase. He's like, dude, I watched this when I was 7. You should not have this many questions. Just follow the story. Like, dude. It's like kind of disappointed in a way. Like, come on, just because he would ask a lot of questions.
So are you committing to watching every single one with Marcus and your dad?
I don't know if I can do that.
Okay.
I'll try.
And how did you watch it?
How did I watch it? Great point, because I watched this on the format that Disney has given us, Disney Plus. I own the Blu-rays, but I watched the revitalized, what is this, the 2011 remastered ones from George Lucas.
You watched this on Disney Plus?
I watched it on Disney Plus.
I believe it's a 2018 Disney Plus.
Yes.
Like, it's their own version.
McClunky. Was McClunky a part of that? Did Greedo say McClunky?
He did say McClunky.
So
yeah.
that is the
special
newest
edition
version. It's the Blu-ray, but with the addition of McClunky.
Absolutely epic Obi-Wan Kenobi screech in there that is absurd. I'm excited to hear what kind of screech Micah heard on the version he watched, but no, that's how I watched it this time, and I grew up watching it. We build forts. The Star Wars is just part of it. The toys, the Legos, the whole culture, just part of me from the very young age.
Does that version have the Jabba scene?
It does have the Jabba scene in it. Yeah.
Okay.
Every version past 2004 has Jabba in some form.
I
2004
don't remember
remaster is very... I'm looking at it right now on VHS. It is terrible. The updated
97, I believe.
Yeah, from 2011 is... Oof.
Yeah, so is it my turn yet?
Yeah, no, yeah, definitely, Micah, because
I can't wait to jump in.
Yeah, so this is, you got to tell us, how has Star Wars been a part of your life? I mean,
yes.
The first thing I remember hearing just about Micah before I even met him is, dude, this guy collects OG Lego. He has a ton of OG Star Wars stuff. So when I met you, took me down to your basement and showed me all this OG Star Wars stuff. I'm like, dude, this guy is a massive collector.
If you guys are watching, I've got my 99 Star Wars Episode 4 sets up there. So pretty cool.
Oh, yeah. Epic. But how has Star Wars been a part of your life, and how did you watch it this time?
So growing up, Star Wars Episode 4, we're talking specifically Episode 4, right? So just like Ethan, I don't remember the first time I watched this. It was so ingrained. This is definitely one of 2 that I watched the most. I watched Episode 1 and Episode 4 probably the most. We grew up with the 2004 release DVDs. I don't believe we watched the 2004 release DVD though, because the bonus disc had the theatrical cut.
Just that one, right?
Yeah, the theatrical cut of the original trilogy. So I think we watched that one usually, because I don't remember ever seeing the Java scene.
Yeah.
Growing up.
Interesting.
Yeah, but Star Wars has always been this fully ingrained into my family. My uncle, he's got this huge lightsaber tattoo on his arm. My other uncle, he's got combat ready lightsabers. He's got he was the one that had the first box set in our family with the Star Wars special edition, the gold one. Box set with Darth Vader on the front.
Yeah.
He had the Clone Trooper Yoda Darth Vader set.
Nice.
That one's really cool. And he was the first one to get the Blu-ray box set. He went all out. Yeah. And like everyone in my family has their Star Wars story. My papa, I remember, this is one of the most vivid memories I have of my papa. I mean, he's still alive, like he's whatever, but he was telling me about the time he went to see Star Wars in theaters. Just casually in the car. He was telling me about it. And he was just like telling the whole car. And he saw it 3 times opening week.
That's awesome.
Like he would line up. He didn't get to see it opening night because they sold out. Or not opening night, but like when it got big, right?
When he went to go see it.
When he
went
went the first time, it was sold out. He couldn't see it.
Wow.
So he went back the next day and he waited hours in line. People waited hours in line to see this movie. My papa was one of them. My Nana's brother-in-law was also one of those guys. Like everyone in that generation that I know went and saw this movie in theaters multiple times. It was the movie to see. It's so crazy thinking like this is the only piece of Star Wars content out ever.
Yeah.
That's it. Like, how do you go into that with no prior knowledge?
Right.
And I can't even imagine
Yeah,
it.
the world you're just immediately thrown into.
And watching it this time, I watched for the first time, I watched
Use layman terms.
Yes, I watched
help people understand.
Project 4K 77. So this was an original theatrically released 35 millimeter film version of Star Wars Episode 4, A New Hope, called Star Wars. That was scanned. It was color corrected to replicate how it looked on a projector screen.
Illegally pirated and put up on the internet. Yeah. my
Great line. Fair use still applies because it is film preservation.
Okay.
As long as you own a copy,
you own physical
you are still
copies.
good. Yes,
Yeah.
I own more copies than most.
Many copies, right?
Yeah, most of the world.
So
I've got the Laserdisc, which is the closest to the theatrical release. I've got all 3 versions of the VHS. I've got the 2004 DVD. So like, I'm pretty much there. I think it counts. Since Disney is having no real way to watch this version of the film, this is the only way you can watch it with the original version. Since then, there have been so many different releases that George Lucas does a little tweaks. There's a little color correcting things that are different. There's some cut
first.
things added, CGI. None of that is in the original, and that's the one I watched. That is, I watched it with a 70 millimeter. So there's a 70 millimeter release as well. I watched it with that surround sound audio from the original film reel. It was so.
It's like a time
cool.
capsule.
Yeah, it was very
cool.
Yeah, and I don't know what else to say. It was amazing.
Yeah,
it was magical.
It was Star Wars the way it was initially intended to be.
And I don't like to use the word magical because I find it just stupid, but
overused.
But
he's going to use it,
Star Wars
folks.
Episode
But
4, A New Hope, is actually magical. The masterful filmmaking that George Lucas has, at least in this movie.
Right.
George Lucas, he gets a bad rap, but for so many reasons, he needs to be held in the same breath as your Steven Spielberg, your Francis Ford Coppola's. I can't even tell you how influential he has been, not only for movies in general, but for the art of making movies. Technologically speaking, he is probably the best director out there just for propelling. He changed the way we make movies because of this film.
From a visionary standpoint, like you see this in the prequels, but this is a director who you see it with this movie. He's going to do whatever he can to make the final product the best.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then now when you have CGI at your fingertips and you want it the best, that's when maybe you can get carried away. But the physical sets of this movie, we'll dive into it later. But
Yeah. I'll keep it brief, but I did watch the ILM documentary for Industrial Lights and Magic. Yeah, Lights and Magic. And
that's a good one.
I mean, George Lucas wasn't in the documentary very much, but everyone was talking about how they basically let them do whatever. Like it was everyone on the project. It was their passion project, which makes this so magical because everyone was so dedicated. They put like 80, 100-hour work weeks in. They would sleep at the studio just because they were having so much fun. They were addicted to this project. And just looking back and seeing these super impressive shots, like looking at the Death Star trench run scene, and like that was made. Someone built this thing.
Practical,
and
right?
Spent hundreds of hours on each box. Yeah.
That's
my brief thoughts
understated.
on ILM documentary, because I don't want to take everything away, but
we want to give Ben the floor, though.
Ben, you are probably the biggest Star Wars fan I know. You are the only one I know that wears Jedi garbs.
Yeah.
Tell us about your experience.
I've been a Star Wars fan for as long as I can remember.
Long time.
So I do remember watching this movie, Episode 1, and Return of the Jedi. I remember those three, watching those first. The first time I ever did. And it was actually at my wife's house.
Oh,
now, like it was at her house where they just threw them on for us because our moms rented them. Just, let's throw on the Star Wars movies for the kids. Yeah, these were insane.
How old were you?
I couldn't tell you. I was young, probably 6 years old.
Okay,
6, 7, 8. I'm probably right around there. And I don't remember ever like, oh yeah, wow, this is cool. But through my years of getting into Legos, so much of it was because of, I wouldn't say this film in particular got me so invested, but it was the universe, all the story in and of itself. And then as time goes on, I credit that to a different Star Wars project, but I love Star Wars more than
special.
Right. Yeah.
It was the holiday special.
The Ewok films.
I am more than anything else, Star Wars is my bread and butter. I have spent countless hours reading novels, poring over lore videos on YouTube. I love this universe.
So was the first one you watched the DVD or the VHS?
The first one I watched was The Phantom Menace.
Okay.
The Phantom Menace was the first. I think it was on cable, and we watched the pod race scene first. But this movie in particular, a lot of what I remember was the Death Star.
So you actually watched a very coveted version of the cable version, like the HD TV version is very coveted.
Really?
Ooh, yes.
Is it?
Yes.
We're going to have to talk about that.
It was good enough to get Ben hooked, but Ben, you were on record on this podcast saying that you were a Star Wars lore master.
Yes.
You've said that. So we're
You
going to
have
put
the holocron in
we're
your
going to
brain.
put that to the test. Truly.
That is
in
amazing.
This marathon, because
Okay.
I don't know. I'm excited.
Please.
to go toe to toe with a lore master and determine which Star Wars movies are truly the best of the best.
So let me put this in perspective. And I think our answer is going to differ because I'm so ingrained into this universe.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I am where I am as far as the Star Wars movie. But in relation to this film in particular, I can't state enough how beautiful this movie is.
Speaking of beautiful, how did you watch it?
You said you watched it in its original intended format. I watched probably the most recent release of this in 4K. I was gifted the 4K releases of all 6 films for Christmas, and I watched the 4K version of this movie, which was released, I believe, in 2019.
The 4K Steelbook version?
There is no 4K Steelbook. Well, no, there is actually. Best Buy did it.
The Disney 100 year.
Guys, they're like $12 online. Go buy them.
I really don't want to. Maybe. I don't know. But I actually did get the Steelbook collections of all the Blu-rays of all of them, which I'd really like the art style for that. But I did watch the 4K, just the regular release of this movie. It's beautiful. I mean, I'm so impressed at how intense everything looks.
So we each
especially-
watched a different version.
Yeah,
Awesome.
for sure.
I mean, speaking of beautiful and intense, something that has become a staple of the Star Wars trilogy through the years are the lightsaber duels.
Mm.
And
Yes.
we get our first lightsaber duel ever. We see a lightsaber for the first time ever in this movie. We get Obi-Wan v. Vader. This means a lot of things now where we know where those two their relationship has come from. But here in original Star Wars, this is our lightsaber duel.
And how does it stack up? I watched a whole video on how they made this, and it was fascinating. But in the movie, I'm not gonna lie, even especially now, it just is. It does fall short.
So we've
Without a
decided
doubt.
up top, every one of these marathon podcasts, we're gonna rank the lightsaber duels that each movie gives us, and this one is our first one.
So it is the
So it's
bottom
the-
of the list, worst of the lightsaber fights we've
But
seen.
It is the
Also
best,
the best
that we've
seen. I will say, have either of you boys seen the recreation of this on YouTube with visual effects? Scene 38?
No.
Really? Have you seen this, Ethan?
Yes,
I think I saw-
Recreated
yeah.
I think I saw a
YouTube video.
quarter or digital version.
So this was someone did it on. We're gonna watch that afterwards. But they
Okay.
literally do the scene. But it's if they made the scene now with updated music and everything else. That is amazing. But I am not going to throw shade at this lightsaber duel since it was the very first one.
and I think there is a really elegant way about it.
Mhm.
What George Lucas was going for at the time was like a
If
samurai
that's what he was going
vibe.
for, then
Yeah.
he
Executed it
executed
perfectly. But, you know, as we
Yeah.
get more and more lightsaber duels in the books, I think we'll really start to see how our preferences change.
Mm.
But do we want to give 10 out of 10 scores
For lightsaber duels.
for lightsaber duels and rank them? We can
I
throw
think-
them on the spreadsheet later.
I'm not going to
but-
be doing like full on 8.3 or something.
No, yeah, but,
but
out of 10, what do we give this? Just so we can throw it on the chart.
it's like a solid 8. I don't know.
In 2024,
Yeah, in 2024.
Are we including like visual effects and
Every- yeah,
everything
yeah, everything that
that
makes
factors
it
into
up.
this.
Because so if you guys didn't know, the lightsabers for this movie, and I think all of the OT is so it's like a cylinder that they're holding with a motor in it, and it spins a long metal pole with a reflective tape on the side, so it catches the studio
And
lights.
in the original cut, you can see the wire going
Yeah, you
in.
can see the wire.
did you
can
see it when you watched it?
Yeah, you could see the wire in the shot where Darth Vader. So he'd already killed Ben, and he's not you. He killed Obi-Wan, and then he was walking towards the closing door. He holds the lightsaber in a way that it doesn't reflect the light at all. So he's just like holding a metal rod with reflective
Wow.
tape on the side. It's not even spinning. It's just hanging out. the lightsaber is just a prop sitting there.
A lot of them broke on set. They could not figure it out. I mean,
It's
For the
so
first
impressive
one,
that they were able
yeah.
to get this done at all.
yes.
And for how it probably works 95% of the time for me,
So I probably would say,
even with the original theatrical
dude,
film.
I don't know. It's 2024, man. We've gotten some epic lightsaber fights. And this falls, but I do I
be
give
as
it,
harsh as you need
do
to
you
be.
give it points
You
for
prequel
it being
lover.
the first one?
I would give it like a high 7 if I were doing decimals and stuff, but I'm just gonna give it an 8 because it means a lot. It's the final battle between Anakin and Obi-Wan. It's
Spoilers.
legendary. Oh yeah, spoilers. Okay, yeah, guys, where have you been?
Oh no.
Yeah, it's the final battle between them. It's I don't know. It's the first of its kind.
Lock it in.
I don't know.
You go 8.
8.
I go 7.
I'm going 8.
I'm going with a 4.
Ooh.
Oh,
It's not good. It's just not a good lightsaber fight,
see,
man.
This is where, because when we get to the prequels and you're giving out 10s won't be coming out of my mouth. I'll say that.
So
I'll
that's
say
something.
that.
all right. It sets the tone of what
I think
lightsaber fights are for the OT
there is
era.
there's a weight to this. Like, I feel like each hit is like thought about, and they're like it's very slow, and Obi-Wan does like a 360.
Yeah, it's very epic move.
Very epically. Yeah, like they're not, it doesn't feel like they're really trying to kill each other, but I just like the way it looks and how it feels a little more realistic than some heavily choreographed fights we get later.
They had nothing to compare this to at the time.
No.
Like, so I think for that in its own, the technical feat that it was trying to do, it executed it perfectly.
And I see, that's where I look at it as just being a lightsaber fight. What should it be? In the grand scheme of things, if you're looking at this as a full-on story, which is usually how I look at this, it should mean a lot more than what it is in this. And I like there's definitely some lines. I mean, only a master of evil, Darth. Last time I left you, I was but the learner. Now I am the master. But if this was made now, it would not be made like this. And Vader is not an old man like Obi-Wan is. Vader would go ham. So what it means,
He's
what it
holding back,
means,
you know?
I am all there for it. But even when I was a kid, I was like, something's off about
it's
this one.
interesting to see what they become later, because now it's a staple. Okay, Star Wars has to end with a big epic lightsaber fight.
Yeah.
But this first one doesn't do that. Ends with an epic ship battle. You know, that awesome trench run. So it's just cool to graph, like, okay, what becomes kind of the Star Wars formula? Not that there is one, but lightsaber duels are iconic part of Star Wars. Like, whenever a new lightsaber duel comes up, it's talked about. Was that any good?
Yeah.
Let's compare it. But it's really wasn't like, oh yeah, that's a huge part of this. No, they were there, and that's their epic weapon. But I mean, so are the ships. Ships are epic weapons too.
You know what else was epic in relation to this film? For us in particular, I would say.
Trip down memory lane.
Oh my goodness, yes. One of the staples in growing up in the early 2000s and even into, as teenagers, was the Lego Star Wars video games. Whether you played them separately or the complete saga, this was a staple of my childhood. I know that for sure. Ethan, I know you played this for sure. Micah, were you a Lego Star Wars, the complete saga player?
I had it. I had both of the games on PS2, and then I had the complete saga on PS3. So I owned all of them.
And did you ever like complete the whole thing?
Oh yeah.
Like,
no. I completed them a couple years ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So one of the things we'd like to do here is just
Like
talk
100%
about
of them.
one of our favorite, because I know many people like us played these games. You have a lot of fond memories with Lego Star Wars: The Complete Saga, and we wanted to say just quick, what's your favorite level from? Doesn't have to be the game, but from this movie in specifically. I know there was about 5 or 6, I believe, levels, and you walk into the Cantina area and you'd run through the door of the specific level. Ethan, do you have a favorite level from the Lego Star Wars?
I think there's a level. It's the Death Star when you're rescuing Princess Leia. I love that level. You get to walk around the Death Star, and there's the specific element to the level where you have to go up to these booths and put on your stormtrooper helmets. I really love doing that. Just kind of, because that's an iconic part of the movie, them putting on the stormtrooper costumes. So I loved being able to do that in Lego form, and then you get,
just being able to walk through, if you were just walking with the helmet on and no one would fight you, was a cool feeling on the Death Star. Micah, do you have a favorite level?
I probably spent the most time in the Secret Plans level, the first one. That it's the one on the Tantive 4, right?
Yes. Yep.
And you got Rebel Friend, you got Leia as your playing as.
Rebel Friend.
There's so many secrets in that level. There's so much replayability for free play.
correction. Sorry to interrupt, but is that the level where you go through the door, you see the stormtroopers in the hot tub? Is that level?
Yeah,
There's, I think, 3 different levels with that. Yours had one with a hot tub on the elevator.
Yep.
And then this one had one. So,
Secret Plans, and I can't remember if the one in Hoth had stormtroopers in a bathtub too. I
Probably.
think they did. I can't believe they never officially released those as minifigures. Secret Plans is the same one for me. And Free Play particular, because that one had, I think, the most studs that you could get out of a free play level, and building up to the max coin multiplier was easy because of Secret Plans.
I almost said the Genlin Waste level because it's so iconic. I feel like the score for that is really good. It's a really long level.
Yeah.
There's a lot of puzzles in it that are kind of like
Is that on Tatooine?
Yeah.
You have to like go the moisture, the like sand is moistured up.
Go in the sand crawler, you get sucked up through the little port. Yep.
Tusken Raiders, those guys always were shooting at you and killing you.
You rescue C-3PO on that level.
Yes.
Yeah.
That was a good
cool
one.
Yeah.
But I like that you point out the score, because that is the biggest element, I think, that carries over to the film.
Yeah.
Because when I'm watching the movie, I'm like, man, I remember playing Lego Star Wars, and especially the John Land Wastes. That specific one exactly plays throughout the whole level. And if you're spending a lot of time on level, it just repeats. Yes,
it's crazy because the theme then transcends the movie and becomes the level, and you only because even when in certain parts of this movie you think of the level, like specifically when we get to it later in marathons, but the Lego Batman theme, it's famous
from the Lego games, right? I can only think of the title screen. But speaking of the score, it cannot be understated John Williams' work on these films, and this one in particular. Because did this not win an
Oscar nom?
Yes,
John Williams.
He's the oldest alive Oscar nominated, like most Oscar nominations, most Oscar wins.
Oh,
he's 91 years old.
It's unparalleled, the work he's done and I mean, a lot of it starts here. I mean, you could say Jaws was probably his big one before Star Wars was, but I mean,
but he was probably doing both at the same time almost. I mean, they're so close, right?
And here's my thing, guys. When it comes to the score for Star Wars, I think Star Wars is at its best when it has the best music. I think Star Wars, you can point a lot more flaws out when the music is not as good, because the music helps you along the story. I think it's a huge element to why these movies are such a success, especially this first one, because it's so out there.
If Star Wars had bad music, I feel like it would not be as good.
No,
and there are so many other sci-fi movies that came out around this time, and if it didn't have a score, if Star Wars A New Hope came out and people were like, well, 2001 A Space Odyssey had better music, so I think I prefer that one just because of the music.
Yeah.
But Star Wars has everything. They've got the VFX, they've got the score, they've got the actors, they've got the story, they've got the lore. I mean, everything.
Yeah, just fell into place and worked so well in this. And there's that common saying online, like that this movie specifically got saved in the edit. They say that a lot, but I mean, that's really every movie. Every movie before it's edited to where you want it to be. You know, it's not.
Yeah, what are they comparing it to? Like the unedited footage?
You want
from
a
the
raw,
set?
unedited Star Wars movie? Yeah, fixes were changed before it was released in theaters, but that's most movies. So I hate just saying, because what I think the saying goes, his wife re-edited it and saved
Lucas,
the movie.
A lot of people who worked on it, say it wouldn't be possible. It wouldn't be the film it was today without her. Because of George's direction.
It wouldn't be the film without everyone working.
Yeah,
it's a good point.
And another one that comes to mind is when Mark Hamill on set, he's like chugging through these lines. They're like paragraphs long, and he's like, I gotta go to Tashi Station to pick up some power converters. Yeah. And he had to cut down a lot of his lines because George Lucas can't write a script. He writes books, not scripts. That was one of my favorite interviews with Mark Hamill, was when he's dogging on George Lucas's dialogue.
Who's saying this stuff? Him and Harrison Ford, they go back and forth. Like, this was so strange. What a weird experience on set, man.
Which like full respect to George Lucas. He created such an amazing universe, but some of his dialogue, we'll get to it.
We'll get
in a future movie.
But I mean, Ralph, we gotta highlight Ralph Macquarie, who it kind of created the iconic look of a lot of everything we look at.
I was watching behind the scenes, and George Lucas was like, this idea is so out there that to pitch it to executives, I need visuals just so they can kind of get a sense of what I'm trying to do here. So that's when he hired Ralph Macquarie.
There was nothing like
gave him. Oh no! I mean, you go look it up. I mean, the drawings are iconic now. There's an epic, weird sci-fi drawing of C-3PO before he was C-3PO, and Darth Vader. There's one with him versus a rebel pilot, which back in the day it looked way off, but it was just, I don't think it would have gotten greenlit without this or American Graffiti's success at the box office. And I mean, a lot of that was saved because of that. I mean, so many things.
Yeah.
All the years down the line, we could talk about that. There's tons of videos out there that can do that. But something that videos cannot do, other videos on the internet, is talk about specifically how good the music is and means to them. Gentlemen, do you have a favorite musical moment in Star Wars A New Hope? I'd like to do this with all of them because John Williams' music is so fantastic. We might have a challenge when we get to the Ewok films.
Right.
I have never seen them, but all of the other ones have
challenge,
really great
because
music.
we'll be fighting over the best spots.
Right. Because they'll take
True.
the top. Yeah.
Very true. Ethan,
Oh.
where does the music ring true for you?
So what is your question, Ben?
The moment that hits you hardest,
My
you
favorite
notice the
musical
score,
moment.
yes, in A New Hope.
I hate going for. Can I send it to you guys, because
Okay.
I know you two appreciate scores a lot more than I do, and yes, I haven't
got
seen
one.
in mine, but I know you guys are also going to take it, so I'm gonna send it back to you guys before I go.
Okay,
I
Micah?
want to say this, not because I know that you guys are going to say it, not because I know it's the best scene in the movie, but like, this is the
great.
first time that it hit for me.
Yeah.
This was the first time. I mean, watching it with like all the little film artifacts and and it was Binary Sunset.
Yep.
When I watched it on Laserdisc, it just didn't hit. It didn't hit the same way. Because when you listen to the song, the moment goes by so fast.
Yeah.
But when you're watching the movie, it's the buildup. The moment sits for, it feels like a lot longer. I got goosebumps as he was walking up for the first time.
Because he's just told, like, no, Luke, you're here for another year. Like, I need you. And he's like looking out at space, and he wants to be a part of that.
And everyone says this scene, but I just wanted to say it because this was the first time it really hit for me. So powerful.
And I mean, a lot of that is due to the score, the excellent visuals. The twin sun setting is such a striking image, man. And we've all been there at one
It's
point
on the
in our
back
life.
of the 4K Blu-ray.
Yeah, it's iconic, man. I mean, you can't not mention that scene.
And I hate to take it from you guys if you don't want to do it. If you want to do a draft version or whatever, I don't care.
I let you have it, Micah.
As long as it is said.
Yes.
As long as it is said, because it needs to be mentioned. I will go with the opening crawl.
Oh,
Okay.
Good pick.
Opening crawl into the fade, or
Since it is a separate track, I will say that just the opening
I thought it was the
crawl.
same track.
Weirdly enough, it's not.
Really?
The main title is the opening track, and then it is the end titles. A lot of the end titles. The fade into the rebel ships is, I believe it's called Imperial Attack.
Yeah, you're right.
Yes. So
They combo them in the other ones, but
they do, but for the official release, I went and listened to every single
I
track
just
that
looked
they
at it,
officially released. Nothing sets the tone like that theme does, and it often gets overlooked, but the main Star Wars theme is incredibly iconic and truly fantastic. It sets the tone.
Yeah.
That's what I love so
Sets the
much
tone.
about it. I'm taking the main theme.
it just blows you away. And I can't even begin to imagine being in a theater on May 25th, 77,
Nothing like it.
with a full packed theater.
Yeah.
Just
That is an experience I will never be able to have.
because you'll never be caught that unexpected with a Star Wars film ever.
Yeah.
I mean, the most I felt like what's going to happen was when we saw Rogue One in theaters. I was like, the anticipation of, are they going to do a crawl? Are they not going to do a crawl? And then it was just boom.
I felt it for Force Awakens. That was a full theater. It was at the Extreme Theater
Oh,
right across the
man.
street.
Yeah.
That's like a 300, 400, I don't know how big the theater is. It's huge. it's a huge seater, and I had to sit in the front right row because it was that packed.
That was packed.
Oh man.
I wonder how the Ewok films start.
Yeah,
like
right.
what they have to start those.
It's probably a long time ago in Galaxy Far, Far Away, and then boom, like in Rogue One.
Have any of us seen them?
I have seen
I have
whatever one the kids get abandoned in, and then are raised by Ewoks. That's the one I've seen.
Oh wow. Okay.
We got it from the library.
That and Resistance are the two things I've yet to tackle. So that's gonna be fun. One of the things, though, that cannot be failed to mention in this is the acting, the performances.
Yes, yeah.
We got to talk about
Let me,
favorite.
I'll do my musical moment.
Yes,
just
Ben.
my
just
goodness.
before we
My apologies.
get by, and I'm using technical terms. This is the technical Star Wars term. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
we love to get our jizz on. You know, in
Oh.
the cantina. That's the kind of that's what it's called, guys. It's called jizz. Okay,
You're so,
it's weird.
I'm not gonna say it.
Go ahead. What?
We just got jizz down, bro.
No,
did.
all right, we're
We
done.
did.
That's why I don't want to do it. But the Cantina music, I love the Cantina music, and like you said, it's become iconic with certain levels of the game. But the scene that accompanies it, you know, that you walk in there and you see all these creatures for the
You just
first
eats it
time. Yeah, it's like hey, yeah. Well, but let's dive into the
I
characters.
love in the Lights and Magic documentary for that scene, it was just two guys riffing with all these different alien costumes.
dude.
They took like a whole day and built these masks, but it's only two dudes that they filmed. And it's crazy that a lot of those aliens became prominent species
Oh my gosh.
in the Star Wars universe. Like Cad Bane
Almost
is
all
just
of
some
them.
random dude in the back.
Yeah.
Oh, not like that. The species is just in the back hanging out. There's the dudes from Utapau are in that scene.
You've got Talls, you've got Davaronians. I mean, dude,
Right, like-
there's even. Do you
Utapauan?
remember in the holiday special the lady who has the
Yes.
drip cup? There are two of those
Ooh.
creatures, whatever they
The
might
hole
be.
on
Two
top
girls.
of their head?
Yeah,
Ooh.
the hair, the way they do their hair, you can tell.
Utapauan.
Oh, iconic.
Yeah, there's an Aqualish. He's the guy who comes at Luke.
I mean,
He
just
doesn't like you.
that Star Wars does that thing where everyone who appears in
pod.
anything has a 65 pages on Wikipedia or
Yeah, these
Wikipedia.
dudes.
Yes,
Yeah, Paladin.
especially freaking Dr. Evazan who comes at Luke. His story's insane, dude. If you ever want a wild story, it's actually kind of gruesome too. Go look up Dr. Evazan's story. It's wild.
See the guy who assaults Luke.
Mhm.
Yeah,
You'll
with
be
the-
dead.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
I love the way that this movie introduces all its characters. It gives each character room to breathe, and something that a lot of modern blockbusters do is I think of specifically the Hobbit movie. They introduce you to this full cast of characters all at once, and maybe they have unique traits within if you really pay attention, but they're just super forgettable.
If
But-
you watch the movie, can you even name all of them?
right, I know Ben probably can, maybe on a good day.
I can.
But with this movie, each character they give time. Like, you know exactly who they are by the scenes that they give them to set them up. And I love that. I love how each character, like, when you go throughout the movie and it's like you're collecting characters like the Infinity Stones.
Yeah.
And you start with C-3PO and R2-D2. And it's not till the 17-minute mark where you meet Luke. I think that is just, it's so unique the way that each character, it feels like very much like you're picking characters up as you go. Okay, these two droids. Then you get Luke. And then, here's Obi-Wan. Oh, we need more characters. Let's go to the Cantina. I really love that structure. And I think it really helps you know who each character is and remember who they are.
Yeah, I love how we don't see Luke till 17 minutes in, and we get to spend some time with C-3PO and R2-D2, kind of an outside-in perspective on the galaxy because they're removed from the situation, but it gives them an excuse to walk around the Tantive 4 and be in this shootout and have a play on these laser gun fights. It's a cool thing, and to see how we're introduced to all this tech, how you can transfer a disc to an R2 unit so it can carry information. There's the life scanners for, there's no life forms on this ship. It must have been an accident on the escape pod, right? There's the awareness of consciousness between these two robots, with them arguing and bickering on Tatooine desert.
Yeah.
There's that huge desert snake that was in there. Like so many
Crate
things.
dragon.
Yeah, the crate dragon. And then you're introduced to the Jawas and all these different droids on the Sandcrawler that all make appearances. We get to see Gonk droid for the first time.
Man, is it epic?
Like, who would have thought?
I know, you see everything for the first time, and it's so hard to watch this movie from that perspective. Like, okay, what if I'm seeing this for the because
what should I be paying attention to?
It's impossible. Yeah,
what would someone back then be paying attention to? And I tried really hard to focus on the entire frame. Like, what am I missing in these frames that I'd never really paid attention to before? What is going on in the background? And you see some of those aliens in the Cantina. You see different droids on the Sandcrawler. You see just so many little things. And
I think they built around 33 unique sets for this movie, which
is really cool.
You lose a lot now, and we'll see it as time progresses. But I love practical effects, practical set. I mean, it's what makes these movies iconic, and just seeing the ships fly, and you know how they did that now.
Yeah.
But the look, like, you can't fight that look.
Yeah.
Just is
It's awesome.
something that CGI will never
Do you know
be able
who
to
did it?
capture. You explain.
Yeah, the
miniatures.
They prop the they prop the ship up and
It
they
sounds
move the
right.
camera. It's so crazy. Like
Right.
I wouldn't even thought of that.
I could do that. And it's like, that's what they did to make it look. I mean, I couldn't make it look that good,
They
but like,
invented programmable movement
Yep.
robot arms for this movie. What?
Yeah.
Like I bet they invented as many things as they did when they went to the moon. Like for this movie,
for movie
For
making
practical
in general,
effects,
without
yeah.
a doubt. Yeah.
insane. Industrial Light and Magic is literally magic.
Oh, yeah. I mean, there's a reason they still work on all the huge big budget films even to this day.
Yeah.
That little company that George Lucas created, he also created his production studio, Lucasfilm Limited, for this movie. And I mean, you look behind the scenes, and I give George Lucas the biggest props ever for being the most Chad director and retaining the rights to this film so that no studio could have them. It's like, no, I'm going to keep this huge, insane franchise to myself. It's going to be completely independent. And I'm going to do what I want with it for the next however many years it was until he sold it to Disney. I mean, Star Wars wouldn't be what it was if it was run by corporation.
Mm-hmm.
We
I mean, you
know
see
what
it
it is
now.
now.
Yeah.
But I mean,
this one, you got to
unheard
talk
of.
about how 20th Century Fox backed him up for this
Yeah.
first one. You know, we had our Fox X-Men films.
Alan Ladd
Yeah.
Jr., absolute beast, and partnering with him, giving him the chance of going in.
It was a big risk sending all this money because how much was it? It was
$8.5 million.
$8.5 million.
But I think he personally, George Lucas, got paid
11 million.
initially. It was like 150,000
Basically
to
nothing.
write and direct. Yeah. So this was like, all right, we're putting all our faith in this filmmaker, and George Lucas put so much into this, so much.
This is the biggest profit ratio out of any movie that we've seen on our podcast.
Is it the biggest profit ratio ever?
I don't know about that. I feel like Gone with the Wind made a buttload.
Yeah, that's true.
That's still with
I
inflation.
know this is up there though, because
72 times its budget
yeah,
of
that's
$11 million.
insane.
You said $7 million. That would be even better, even higher.
I thought it was
According to Box Office Mojo, it was $11 million.
interesting. Okay, I thought it was $8.5 million. That's what I thought it was made, or maybe that was what it was initially, and then he requested more money because he was like, "Dude, there's no way we're gonna be able to do this without the extra funding." And I mean, man, did it pay off?
They made boats, and it was 6 months out, I think, from they needed a completed film, and they had 2 special effects shots done. They had the dropping of the escape pod, and they had the Millennium Falcon flying into the tractor beam, like that one shot with the gun swiveling, and that was it. 6 months out. They made this entire movie. They shot this entire movie in 6 months, special effects wise. How?
How does he do that? One of the things that I really enjoy watching from the Star Wars movies is how engrossed you become into the lore of this world. And this movie does it like no other.
Oh yeah.
Some of the moments that stand out to me is whenever an Imperial is talking, like from the moment Darth Vader is introduced, super imposing, and then his next scene after he chokes out Captain Antilles is, word of this could spread for sympathy in the Senate. And you're like, wait, hold on, what? There's something else going on.
Yeah.
The Star Wars iceberg.
Yeah, like there's a
builds
government here. There's
from that moment. Yeah. You have the whole council, your sad devotion to that ancient religion.
Right.
And then you're like,
I
wait,
love how
what?
they don't go deep into things. They just throw it out in the world.
They just say it, right.
Yeah, like the Clone Wars, the religion of the Jedi.
There's no babysitting.
No,
Yeah,
right?
they
No
don't talk
hand-holding.
about the little idiosyncrasies of what it means to be a Jedi, and they don't even use they don't use the Force as a lifting thing in this, do they?
No, it's the first one, I believe, is when he lifts the
Empire,
X-Wing.
yeah.
Or I guess when he grabs his
Luke's
lightsaber.
upside down,
Yeah.
on Hoth.
Which is crazy because you think, lightsaber, Force, you lift things. That's like
Yeah.
what it does. But in this, it's mind tricks and knowing what's about to happen because you're using the Force.
And he chokes a guy out too, so there is that physical element to it.
True.
Darth Vader does.
And so Sam said this while watching this. She's like, Darth Vader, he's just, in these movies, he's just not imposing. I don't understand, because they portray him to be that way in all the modern media, but I think it gets over exaggerated. And is that do you guys see that? Because I don't know if I see that argument.
I find him as the second in command. He feels like Anakin in that scene where they're all talking about how, your stupid religion, if you weren't so devoted to it or whatever. He feels like his anger is getting the best of him there. It feels like he's not the one, the top dog. There are
I
people
find
above
your
him.
lack
There
of
are
faith
councils.
disturbing. Yeah.
He's just there because people are scared of him, and he's just this overbearing dude. But I think he really finds his stride in the next two movies.
I agree.
Dude, yes.
Yeah.
Empire
David
for
Prowse.
sure.
Have you
Yeah.
guys seen the David Prowse documentary?
I have not
No,
seen that
but
one. No.
I'm
pretty
glad
good.
you mentioned his name. He
Yeah.
deserved to be mentioned.
But you know who wasn't
without a
mentioned
doubt.
in the original credits? James Earl Jones.
Not in the original ones. He
Yeah.
is in the updated credits, but
Yeah.
you saw it.
I saw it.
Well,
was
you
just,
didn't see it.
It was
Yeah.
just David Prowse.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which
Interesting.
now Lucasfilms is kind of moving away from him because he was making a ruckus. But
Something that Lucasfilm has always moved away from is the original format for this. We got to talk about the special edition, folks. We got to talk about the special edition for this movie, because out of all of the films, I would say maybe Return of the Jedi is affected more from the special edition.
Definitely Return of the Jedi, but this one is
This one's a big one.
no exception.
There's a lot.
You get added scenes, the effects are definitely changed. You have absurdly huge CGI creatures
yeah,
blocking the entire frame. Come on, why are we doing that?
What's the choice for that?
in this one on the left, the I believe it's the 85 release, the VHS. There is no Jabba scene.
Yeah.
The next one, there's a Jabba scene with a live action actor.
No live action actor.
No.
No, they wouldn't
never
have, because-
officially released. Have
Yeah,
they released
No,
that
it wasn't
live
released.
action?
I
No.
thought one of them had it.
No,
Not a
'cause
live action Jabba.
it would have had to have been released before Return came out, and that wouldn't have happened
Yeah.
because he's full on Jabba in Return.
It's always been a deleted scene. And I mean, you can find it out there. It's pretty interesting, that's for sure.
Gotcha.
But the Jabba that
Yeah,
they
Declan
have,
Mulholland was the guy.
he's a weird Scottish dude, if you've ever seen that deleted scene.
Yeah, all right, so never mind. It wasn't in that second release. It was the 97 release was the first one where they had it and they put in the CGI Jabba.
Yeah.
There's some really clippy
Yes. Han
Han
Solo
walking
walks
behind
behind him. They
Yeah,
blur the
man.
frame. Yeah.
Dang. So Ethan, I know you are very critical of the special editions. Can you, from the start of this, because I know it's going to be a conversation piece,
Yes.
why are you
Especially when we get
why are
further
you
in.
so critical of the special editions?
When they don't hold up to the original, what have you added, George Lucas, by throwing CGI creatures in here? There is the way Micah just watched it. That's the original way, and you'd say that was a pretty enjoyable way
There
to
were a
watch
lot
it.
of things. I didn't know that there were things that crossed in front of the frame anyway. And the scene where they pull up in Mos Eisley. Yeah. There's a couple astromech droids and stuff.
There's a freaking
Yeah,
thing,
they just
but yeah.
block it completely, and I feel like it was just as distracting having all those
But-
things blocking it because it's only on that plane. There's nothing beyond it. There's
Yeah.
nothing.
I
don't
get I get what George Lucas is trying to do by wanting to, okay, let me kind of, I didn't have the ability to do this then, but let me really just animate the world a little more, because it kind of ruins like what I think the art is. Is a piece of art. This movie is a piece of art, but then when you're watching, you see a beautiful ship scene, but then immediately it cuts to a wide shot, a wide CGI shot of the entire Mos Eisley. It just it messes with me, and I don't. Yeah, you know, like what was so wrong with the original? And I don't need the big, because yeah, in '97, I'm sure the CGI looked cool, but when you're watching on your 4K, it doesn't look very good.
And how do you solve this issue? I'm thinking an interactive Blu-ray. They're never going to do this, where you select which bits and pieces you want from
Which
it.
movie you want to watch?
Like, what are you
Or
gonna
release the theatrical cuts.
Would you be as up in arms about this
No,
if there was?
I wouldn't.
Yeah.
Because then I could watch it the way I want to watch
It's
it.
the whole reason why Project 4K77, the silver screen edition, all these things came out was because there was no way to watch this the way that the director originally intended to be viewed.
Right.
Because
But
there was
I'll push
no
back on that though.
there was no home release back in 77.
Yeah.
I mean,
I will push back on that though, because he's run on record saying many times that this is not how he originally intended it to be. This is just what he
Right,
was.
he's
it
like,
was
let me-
available.
let me add
This
this.
is what it was.
So
yeah, but there is no real way to watch
because
it.
you lose
yes.
when you watch this cut, you lose the epic Jabba reveal. Jabba's just in this. He's a big CGI blob. You don't get that epic puppet that you meet for the first time in Return. You meet Boba Fett randomly in this cut now, which
Really, where's he at?
he's in the Jabba scene.
Jabba scene.
He's
Oh.
with Jabba.
Oh yeah,
I haven't
right,
seen
'cause
the scene.
Yeah, right.
I mean, like,
Right.
I may have seen it on YouTube or something, but
He
I
appears with Jabba in that scene, digitally recreated.
Right,
They
and
didn't
you
have
get,
a guy.
you get shot, or you get Han shot first, you know, like, or
in
Greedo
the
shot
97
Yeah,
one,
right.
they CGI his neck
first. Oh,
over.
that's
Yeah,
the
right.
cut now. Yeah.
That's how it is. That's
Oh,
how
it
now,
is.
yeah.
That's
Yeah.
so stupid. Like his
See?
neck
Yeah.
breaks.
Because he doesn't want he didn't want Han Solo to be
for whatever
They
reason.
change it. Every
right.
edition was a different
Yeah.
thing. The 2004 cut was like Greedo shot first or something
Yeah.
stupid.
Well,
and
the
then-
original one, Greedo just
in the original one, it's off
dies.
camera. The
Yeah.
shot is off camera.
You just watch Greedo shoot.
say this. Yeah, the way his neck moves. But my
Yeah.
gripes with because there's not much he really changes with this one, and not much he changes with Empire. But when we get to Return, I'll have a whole list of gripes with that one
Yeah.
that he adds into it. But no, I just don't understand. Like, just keep it the original. Like, because there's no yeah, if this was a director's cut and they released it separately, I'd get that. But for us as fans, like, you have to go through all the back channeling that Micah did to find that original version.
As opposed to a movie like Apocalypse Now, which has the Apocalypse Now Redux. There's Apocalypse Now, the final cut. There's the
Yeah.
Apocalypse Now Redux final cut or whatever. And then there's an ultimate cut or something stupid. There's like 4 or 5 different versions of that movie that are physically released. You can watch all of them.
Yeah.
You can buy all of them digitally, individually. You don't have to say, "Oh, I have to watch the newest one because that's the only one that's available to me." They're all available.
Well, Micah, you are one of the three of us who have seen both versions of this in its entirety.
I've seen probably 4 versions, five versions. I've
Yeah.
seen the Disney Plus version too.
Is there a superior cut to this version? Because I have always been of the opinion, as you think about that the changes, while they are there, never bothered me because they never felt super integral until you get to the end of Return of the Jedi. There is no change that is like, okay, Okay, they just changed it. I never really cared about that. And still to this day, I think the special editions, in my opinion, add more good things than they do bad.
Wait.
Now, there are things that they do add that I don't like,
You guys are dogging on Jedi Rock?
but I will dog on that. Yes, I will dog on that. Jedi Rock is not good.
Ouch.
That's one of the ones I don't
I
like.
would
When we get to it,
I-
get to it.
As far as Project 40K77 goes, I really enjoyed it. I feel it is the most genuine. It is just naturally, it is. There's no CGI. It feels like a 70s movie. Okay, I take that back. There is CGI. It is one of the first movies with CGI. It has the Death Star spinning and then like the HUD computers with the aiming and stuff. That was revolutionary at the time. Yeah, I just feel without the CGI of like animals and things, there aren't any spots where you're like, oh yeah, that doesn't work.
Yeah.
That doesn't work, and I just love it. I see nothing wrong with this movie. Like the Project 4K77, there is nothing that I would change. There is nothing that I would add. There aren't many special effects that I'm like, I mean, there's the lightsabers. That's it.
Yeah.
So I think that while I do
That's
like
a good addition in the special editions. They clean up the lightsabers a
Right,
little bit.
like lightsabers and the whatever the repulsors on the ships. They clean that
They
up.
fix them, and I would say that's a good version of the special editions. But they always mess up the color. They always mess up the color, especially the 2011.
Whenever my
Blu-rays.
immersion is broken because of the datedness that is this movie, I prefer. I just think I would prefer. I haven't seen it, but I think I would prefer having it be, because you talk about that wide shot of Tatooine as they go in. I love that shot. It makes it, if you don't get that in the original one, and it makes Mos Eisley your cut. There is a wide shot, a pan
You
up
see the entirety of Mos Eisley.
and it makes it feel like a bustling spaceport. You don't get that feel from the original movie. It enhances it, in my opinion. It does. That's kind of where I come from. Though I do agree that a version of this movie should be allowed on physical media.
Like, I like the idea of touching up like VFX or like fixing it where it looks like shoddy, but I don't like adding scenes. I guess that's where
Like
I draw the line.
You have a problem with the Jabba scene? Adding that in?
I do. Yeah, I don't like it. I think because it's part of the lure of the trilogy. Yeah, like the Infinity Stones I talk about. Yeah, Jabba's mentioned in this movie. And then you meet Boba Fett in the next movie, who they put Han and Carbonite to take to Jabba. Then you finally, the big reveal, who the heck is Jabba? You meet Jabba in return. But you lose all that. You lose the whole build up to that when you know who Jabba is.
If you haven't seen the movies before.
Right. If
Like,
you haven't seen the movies before.
He made the change 20 years later.
But I think that you should always keep the movies for how you want people to see them the first time ever. That's how and because whenever I show someone these now, they are these special editions. I can't show them unless I go through all the whatever Micah did. You know, I can't show them the original way that I was able to see it.
Okay. All right. Not a bad discourse. It will get there, though, when we reach Return of the Jedi.
Let's talk about the Death Star.
Yeah.
The Death Star is a center of this movie. Like, most of the movie takes place on the Death Star. I mean, the second half at least, and then the trench run. But I mean, what do we think about the Death Star, man?
That is so impressive.
Yeah.
That shot where they fly into the trench was so impressive. They used it twice, and I love it.
They did use it twice.
It's
I noticed
the
that.
exact same shot, but that shot in the documentary was a huge hurdle for them to figure out how to transition from up top that shot into a seamless transition into because the trench run actual scene that was shot from a moving truck going like 35 miles an hour in a parking lot as they flew it through the trench run set. And the trench run set is about as wide as this coffee table.
Wow.
So they're like flying this thing through.
Mhm.
It's crazy. Just the way they were able to pull this off.
The filmmaking
I can
that-
say that about literally everything in this movie.
Yeah.
The X-Wings, all of them coming towards the battle.
This
all
was the first
their
time-
call-outs in between. It's
Yeah.
I played this game called Rogue Squadron when I was younger on the GameCube, and I'm just super nostalgic seeing all the X-Wing pilots just going back and forth, and it's so tense on the Death Star. And
Yeah.
they're, pull up, and it's like
It's
you
tense.
feel the weight
Yeah.
when someone blows up, and it's oh man,
And you don't know these characters, but you
Right.
don't really have to because
Star Wars has been great at that.
yeah,
over its
I
years.
feel like they don't spend too much time on these. I mean, except for a few movies and the sequels, but they do a great job in this movie of all right. Here's the character's name. It's part of the Rogue Squadron. Here we go. We're sending them out, and then you get attached to these characters a little bit. You hear a little bit of their talking. You know, they're talking back and forth, and he's like, "All right, I got it." And then he explodes, and
Yeah.
whoa, like he's dead. That's it. He's gone. Like there's no recovering. There's no burying that body.
That's true. Star Wars has never shied away from just a gruesome death.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean,
You know,
I mean, he slices the dude's arm off in the
his aunt
cantina.
and uncle are toasted.
Dude,
to
clipped.
bits.
yeah.
Yeah.
just baked.
Yeah. Just
They just threw out some skeletons.
A really
yeah,
good
PG
scene, though.
movie.
Yeah.
Back in the day. But I love the Death Star. I think it's iconic. My dad had the original Death Star that I think Hasbro made. I don't know if you can
Dude,
look that up,
yes.
Micah, the original Star Wars toys, but
That's
my
so
dad
cool.
had those growing up, and then they were at my nanny's house. So whenever we went over there, we'd get to play with them.
Kenner toys.
Yeah, Kenner. Yeah, there
the
you go.
original Kenners.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what it
So
was.
those are so cool.
Yeah,
but the
I-
Death Star is
yeah.
just such a cool concept. Like, that's no moon. That's a space station.
Such an iconic line.
Right. And
Oh.
just this big, massive space station that can blow up planets. How cool is that?
Who thinks of this stuff? Who thinks that? I have gotten to a kick lately where I'm just like, when big time directors come with a huge freaking movie, like in my, could I think of something?
who's
There's just no
intimidating in
way.
that scene? Grand Admiral
Dude,
or
Tarkin.
Grand
Yeah.
Admiral Moff Tarkin.
Dude.
Tarkin?
Grand Moff Tarkin.
Grand Moff Tarkin.
Grand Moff.
Yeah,
Moff
when
Tarkin.
you mentioned how Sam was like, Darth Vader kind of seems like a little sissy.
Moff Tarkin is the villain in this.
Yeah, he's our guy. Like I love that because
Dracula.
Darth Vader is this big, intimidating guy, and we'll see it later. And it doesn't play well when you roll right in from Rogue One into this movie
Yes.
with the transition to Darth Vader. So I get what she's saying there, but I love the way because yeah, he's this big bad guy, scary, imposing, but he's not the boss. He's not the boss, and I love that. I love the way they integrate Tarkin.
They do mention the Emperor in this film.
They do, yeah.
Right? Yes.
Yes.
So they make it clear that he's not the big bad. Even Tarkin's over him. He has a great performance. Very sniveling, a guy you just want to hate.
Was it
And
Peter Cushing?
Yeah, and
Yeah.
he just
What else is he in?
dies. He plays the original Dracula.
Really?
He is Dracula. Yes.
Huh.
Yes, and him and Christopher Lee actually are good friends. Who famously plays Count Dooku.
Interesting.
Yeah, he was a great get. Him and Alec Guinness,
Yes.
two veteran actors for this film.
Ben, you're currently dressed as Obi-Wan Kenobi, and rumor has it, your parents can't confirm this, but you were named after Ben Kenobi.
And they won't confirm it, but I will say, I won't stop saying that I was named after him. It's weird in all the weird Star Wars names out there. You know, there's just one or two or three that are just randomly like, oh yeah, we name our kids this. Luke is one of them. Ben.
No one's naming
have a
their
friend-
kid Han.
I have a
Right,
friend
right.
named Anakin.
What? Really?
Yep.
That's 100% Star Wars.
Right.
Yeah.
Like that's how I see the name.
That's
Right.
that name. Yeah, like Luke. Yeah, like Ben. I don't know if there's another one. Like
There's gotta be
Anakin
another
Van
one.
Slyke, if you happen to be watching. He also had the station wagon, like the same one that I have.
Nice.
Oh, cool.
So
Very
it's pretty cool.
nice.
But
we want to say
Alec Guinness
Yeah.
nominated for an Academy Award for this one. Best
Really?
supporting actor, yeah.
Wow.
Cool.
Should we talk about best performance, or do we have anything else we want to say?
I mean,
on A New Hope?
we always got stuff
There's a
we could
lot.
say, but I think
Yeah.
we could transition into best performance.
Let's do it, folks. We got a lot of iconic performances
Mhm.
as far as what really stood out to you this time? We'll shoot with Micah. Shoot with Micah
Best
first on this one.
performance?
Best performance.
I'm going with Alec Guinness.
Yeah,
Man,
good
like
pick.
I heard he won an
was,
Oscar.
This
for
was the one
nominated.
almost. Yeah, he
Nominated.
got a nomination. This was the first time that I watched this where Alec Guinness's portrayal of Obi-Wan Kenobi really hit me. I really,
Yeah.
I love, especially the scene where he sits back
Yeah.
and he just exposition dumps. It doesn't hold your hand. The only other movie that I can think of that was like this, that it just immediately reminded me of, was Dune 2021 or whatever the new one is. And it also doesn't hold your hand. It just dumps exposition on you. It expects you to just catch up, look things up after if you really need to know.
But it does it expertly because it's talking about his father.
Yeah, it's
Oh,
all
what was his
relevant
father getting
things.
up? Yeah,
It's
right.
all interesting things. It's all. There's also, it leaves you with so many questions, eager for more, eager for this expanded universe. And that's why the book sold so well. That's why everything exploded before episode 5. I mean, Star Wars exploded literally. Like, I don't know a better way to put it, but yeah, Alec Guinness, just, I love his role. I love the way he describes things, the way he pauses between words, the way he swiftly sneaks around the Death Star and flips the little levers,
right.
and then he
got away about it.
Darth, and he calls him Darth.
Yeah, Master of Evil, Darth.
Master of Evil.
I love how they retroactively made it work, but Darth was Vader's first name in the original draft of the movies.
Was it?
Darth
Nice.
Vader. That was just his name. There was no other Darths. That's just become a pseudo Sith name now. But back in the day, Darth was his first name.
Yeah, and it's
A
kind of like
young
calling
Jedi.
him, it's like calling him Mister.
Right. Literally, now it is. But literally, when he said a young Jedi named Darth Vader, that was his name.
Yeah.
Which,
They do that well. Like,
Yep.
as we get to the prequels, it'll be fun to talk about what elements I think they enhanced and what elements I think they dumped on. But
While we're talking about names, there's a kid at the school that I work at. His name is Sidious.
is his name Sidious?
Goes out and names their kid Sidious, and he breaks Chromebooks like every other
You're
week.
lying, dude.
Yeah.
His name's not Sidious.
His name is Sidious.
Who are his parents?
Is his brother
Thinking,
named
like-
Darth too?
I would expect nothing less than a boy named Sidious to be breaking Chromebooks at
I
school.
mean, that's just sinister. Like,
that
don't know,
fits
man.
him. That name fits him very well.
Ethan, what's your favorite role in this
My
movie?
favorite performance
Is
I
Princess Leia's
got-
buns. Her
is
hair buns.
okay. My favorite performance is Harrison Ford as Han Solo.
Ooh,
He-
That's a really good one.
He grabbed me in this movie.
He did.
And yeah, like Ben, like Ben said, his shirt is basically
dude,
fully open.
look at that,
The-
man.
he's
the whole
he's sitting
movie,
like
but-
this. He's,
Man,
There,
hey, this hunk of junk's gonna get you.
this time specifically, Harrison Ford was just so cool. Han Solo's always been cool, but this time he just was it. He oozes coolness and swagger, and he's the original Tony Stark right here. You know, the pirate scoundrel, the bad guy you love to love. So
And the story that leaves you with more questions, like who's this Jabba dude? It's better as an unanswered question.
Right,
I
and
like how there's no Jabba
Why
scene.
is there a bounty on his head? Why does he have these smugglers hatch? You know, why does he kill Greedo? Two of those things get changed in the special edition. I guess Han Solo's character suffers in that special edition, but
Talks about the Kessel Run.
yeah,
maybe because Harrison Ford was so critical of George Lucas in the, after interviews and stuff like
He just
that.
calls him a
George
nerd
was like,
straight
all
up.
right, nah.
it's funny
We're dating
because
this guy.
if you go back far enough, you can find interviews of Harrison Ford talking positive about Star Wars.
They're
I
out
saw
there,
one
yeah.
today. I'm like, oh, look at him. He's like the one I saw today. He's like, yeah, when I picked up that script, it was just unlike anything I'd ever read. And is it? I'm like, he wouldn't say that today about Star Wars.
No.
His view on that after they threw him in the holiday special has completely changed. But I love Harrison Ford in this movie, and I don't know if you're gonna take his sidekick.
You guys,
but
yeah.
Chewbacca?
Nope.
Okay, so I want to highlight Chewbacca too. I love
Peter
that,
Mayhew.
that buddy cop duo they got, and
He just died recently, didn't he?
I think
A couple
last
years
year,
ago. It's
couple years.
been a while. It's
Yeah.
been a while.
2017 maybe.
Yeah, I think it was 2016 actually.
2019, 74 years old.
Never mind.
But no, Han
Yeah.
Solo's great. I love the mystery around him. I love that he's not this black and white guy or black and white character. Like he wears both black and white. So you're like, all right, well, what's the vibe we should get from this guy? He's a little dark. He's a little mysterious. I think his wit is really good too, and I love the way he's like, what is it? It's ancient religion it's hokey religion and ancient weapons are no good for a good blaster at your side, kid.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's just where his mindset is, and
I love
love
the different
that.
viewpoints. Like there's very specific. All right, this character is in here for multiple reasons. He's here for a plot purpose, but he's also here for a lore purpose.
Right.
He's here to be a critique of the main religion in the universe.
Right.
This
And
Force Jedi
I think
thing.
we'll continue with it later on, but I think the Force is at its best in this original trilogy.
I think they
where
lose it. They lose it in
when
other
we-
movies.
The more we learn, the less you're like, okay. Like I love that the Jedis are rare. They're so rare and they're mysterious. And even so, the guy in the council's like, your devotion to that ancient religion is, I love that. But really, when you throw the prequels into everything, it kind of is like, it lessens it to me.
It's different. The way that they frame it in the prequels is a bit different from what you expected in the OT, which is, I think, is a good thing. I think having this like your own perspective of what Jedi should be, and then the canon lore is different, is cool because it's outside of the box. Like, would you have thought that there was a Jedi council and there was like a whole, they had a say in like the royal guard for everybody? And I don't know, I think it's cool that we had this new, it's definitely better for narrative reasons because now you have all of the Clone Wars, you have reasons for them to go out on missions, you have reasons for them to be generals because they have a say in things, they have a position of power. So I like where they took it, that they're not just a bunch of monks hanging out and have a separation from everything else. But it would have been cool to see a different universe where it was just a separate thing, like a very devoted religion, people separate from
like
Coruscant.
old wizard, and you see like expanded lore. There's a lot more Jedis running amok, and the Empire has dealt with more Jedi than what you see in this movie. But I think there's a good and bad to it. I know Ben is being really, really quiet, and I really love that. I love the restraint Ben is showing. But the more you learn, I think it opens the door for so much more. Though it does, like the Clone Wars, and we'll dive into it. But I think there's good and bad from it. That's what I'll end with.
I'm going to take a different approach to favorite character because
You're taking George Lucas.
No, so I want to highlight Luke in portraying the most earnest character out there. I want to highlight Carrie Fisher for, people talk about a lot of strong female characters, but this is one of the first and one of, if not the best out there. Princess Leia. Carrie Fisher's excellent in this movie. Tarkin we already talked about, but what I'm going to do with these Star Wars movies, since I've seen them so very often, and I don't want to go with the classic mentions, is I'm going to highlight a very, very obscure character that only appears in maybe a few seconds in each one of these films. Now,
every movie this will be your favorite character.
Are you gonna pick
not my favorite character,
shorts,
but one I want to highlight because they make such a great cameo in the very limited amount of time he or she is in that scene.
Which one is it? I'm on the edge of my seat.
At every junction in each one of these movies, it's okay. There is a clear character for who is your favorite character, and you guys are going to take some of them. So I'm going to go with a little bit of an outside of the box approach to this, and I'm going to highlight a character called Jack Porkins.
Porkins.
Let's go.
Porkins is my highlighted character of this movie because just look up a picture of him, bro.
Dude, look at his
He gives
So,
such an
look
epic
him up
performance,
specifically
man.
though. put chicken after it. Just
Oh,
put chicken.
no.
You get, I believe there's a picture of him with a tub of chicken in the cockpit.
What?
Yes. Look at that first one.
I gotta see
Oh,
that.
that's amazing.
Dude.
Come on, his name's Porkins.
But he gives, like, dude,
Red
his
6 standing
lines,
by.
stay on target, dude. And he has such a sad death, you know? Oh, it's so sad.
You know, good on you, Ben.
Oh my gosh.
Giving him some love. I
I
like
gotta
this.
give Jack Porkins some
Red sauce standing by.
Please, you gotta look up Jack Porkins. He is one of the rebel
16
pilots.
confirmed kills.
Oh, dude, he was a sharpshooter, man.
Lieutenant Jack
Yeah.
Porkins. Yeah.
Gotta highlight Jack Porkins. So he is my character for Star Wars: A New Hope. The next thing we have,
Dude,
just like it
Porkins is
was
Star Wars.
with-
All right.
Please,
Which I
please.
believe that actor appeared in our Marvel movie marathon too.
What?
Yeah.
Like
Was he
the
a thug
official.
in
Yeah.
Howard the Duck?
Fact check me, but I think he
No
was
way.
he's in one of the X-Men movies.
That would be amazing.
Let's see.
Let's see what Micah can pull out.
Yeah, Mike is
Jack.
whipping it on
I'm
the.
furiously.
I'm very
If you can
slowly
even
actually.
find
Porkins found him.
Jack Porkins. Oh,
William Hootkins.
Yeah.
was he in
Rest in
Howard the
peace,
Duck?
2005.
Rest in peace.
57 years old.
Did he get to
He
see
was in
Revenge of the Sith?
Batman 89.
All right, he was in Batman.
He was in Raiders of the
Batman
Lost
89.
Ark.
Yo,
He was
what?
in Superman 4: The Quest for Peace, 87.
Because we watched
peak
we watched
movies.
he's the like evil detective in Batman, in 89's Batman.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's what I was confusing it with because
Flash?
we all watched that together
Yeah,
not
too.
that's
anything
right.
else.
Yeah.
Any of
Wow.
our stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Gentlemen,
Yes.
A New Hope has a ton of epic scenes, but if you had to pick your favorite one on this go around, what would it be? Ethan.
Oh, all right.
Oh.
What is my favorite scene? I'm gonna take the backstory scene, the scene where Obi-Wan is talking to Luke. Can I take that whole bit where they're in that hut and he's just sharing to him about the Jedi, about his father, about the Empire, before the dark times, all of that. I take that. Go watch the movie.
That scene is it raises so many. Yeah, it's fantastic. There's a whole video on just that scene on YouTube. I forget what it's called, but like a breakdown of how
I'm sure there's a
genius
couple.
that is. Oh yeah, guaranteed.
I'm going to pick
Yeah.
the escaping the Death Star
Yes.
one. Once
The
their
sequence?
cover is blown and they're running around. One of my favorite additions to the special editions. So the post, you know, when he's chasing those like 4 or 5 stormtroopers
Yeah.
and then he goes in the next room, there's like
his head.
a whole, no, not that one. When they're chasing them all and then they turn around.
Yeah.
And there's like this room full of
billion
stormtroopers. In the OG,
It's like 4 or 5.
there's just those ones.
stormtroopers.
It's just a
Yeah.
dead end and they're turned around. So then they start charging him. I think that's a great addition.
Yes.
That's a good addition.
But yeah, I love them running around. So everywhere from the trash compactor scene onward until they leave is just such an amazing. I mean, you've got the lightsaber fight in there. You've got
Kind of stretching the
lot
extent
of
of
scenes,
a
we'll
scene
say.
in
isn't
there.
that like 4 minutes?
Well, yeah, but
It's quick.
That's the whole.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean,
I let it happen
it's a scene.
because if
you can have it.
I would
I'm
have
not
taken
gonna
that
pick like
too.
one
Yeah.
shot from that.
That's
I
fair.
mean,
I like the shot where Leia kisses Luke on the cheek.
yeah, you would like that, wouldn't you?
Or the scene
Damn.
when Luke's like, she's gorgeous.
she's beautiful.
And actually, if you go on Disney Plus and you just go all the way down, the very last special feature is I think it's called like Love Spot, or I don't know what it's called, but it's the trailer that
Whoa.
maybe it's romance, but it's a trailer that specifically focuses on Star Wars as a space romance
interesting.
and how George Lucas definitely wasn't planning on making them siblings during
Don't
this
think so.
movie or the next one.
Huh.
I think Micah's looking it up right now, but as he does that, Ben, your favorite scene?
Ooh, it's a good question. Man. I'm gonna go with the beginning, the very first scene. This time around, there's so many good scenes. I mean, you could go with the binary sunset. That is for sure my favorite scene. Yeah, you know what? I'm taking that scene. I'm taking it. I'm
Forbidden
taking the
love.
binary sunset scene, which we've already talked about in length.
Yeah.
But the binary sunset every time. I used to think this movie was one of the more boring ones when I was a kid. I didn't really find this as rewatchable. But even then, and especially now, the binary sunset scene, theme, scene, everything, a part of it is truly magical. It has the sauce.
This movie just is iconic. That's how you boil it down. Every shot, every character, every frame, every sound, the sound design too. It's just so iconic, and it's hard to view this movie as, okay, what if this was the first Star Wars?
Yeah.
What if I hadn't been introduced to this world before? But we found the clip. The official thing on Disney Plus is called Forbidden Love, and it's that the thumbnail is the shot of Leia as she first sees Luke.
Isn't that ironic?
It is ironic.
Forbidden love.
Because it would indeed be forbidden.
By law would be forbidden.
Oh, we don't know space laws though.
True. Anyway. Gentlemen, we got to talk about what this did awards wise, what this did Rotten Tomatoes critics wise, or critics across the board wise. I want to know where this stacks up internet wise. Got a couple of rankings we can also talk about, but Micah, you've got all that information, man.
All right, I'm going to start with our Academy Awards because there are a lot. This won more awards than any other Star Wars film combined. Let me repeat that. It won more awards than any other Star Wars movie combined.
Combined. So this is more than all the other movies.
Yes. Academy Award wins. These are the Oscars. Best art direction and set decoration, best costume design, best film editing, which is interesting because we were talking about that earlier.
Yeah.
Best effects / visual effects, best music / original score. John Williams. He got the best sound special achievement for sound effects. Goes to... Oh, it won best sound. It won best special achievement for sound effects for Ben Burt for the creation of the alien creature and robot voices. It was nominated for best actor in a supporting role for Alec Guinness, best screenplay George Lucas, best director George Lucas, and it was nominated for best picture. Those ones are all noms. It won a Grammy Award.
Wow.
It won Best Instrumental Composition for the Star Wars main theme. It won Best Original Score written for a motion picture or television special. And it won Best Pop Instrumental Performance. It was nominated for Album of the Year, but it lost to Fleetwood Mac's Rumors. It won...
That's awesome, though, that it was nominated for Album of the Year.
Dang.
It won a Golden Globe for Best Original Score. It was nominated for Best Motion Picture for the drama category, Best Director, and Best Supporting Actor for Alec Guinness. It won the BAFTA Awards for Best Original Music and Best Sound, and it was nominated for Best Film, Best Costume Design, Best Production Design, and Best Editing. That is the longest list we will have out of any of these Star Wars movies.
That is amazing. It's just amazing because at the time this was that, you know, it was the first of its kind. And yeah, we know that the awards tend to like to give praise to original films and original visionaries, but a movie like this now would not get like this much credit.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean,
11 Oscar nominations to compare that. I think Oppenheimer got 13 nominations this year.
I mean,
was just released today.
Better than Star.
No, just nominations, just to compare it. But
right.
Yeah.
You know, there weren't as many good movies coming out every single year.
No, it was a dark time. They talk about it. It was a dark time for Hollywood. A lot of their movies were darker films that didn't have a lot of hope.
It's like war epics and things.
Yeah.
It was,
and
not that they were bad movies.
George Lucas set out to make these movies. I mean, they were for kids, but they can be enjoyed by older audiences.
Yeah.
I mean, they were definitely enjoyed by us as kids, but they were made for hope, for a lighter tone,
a new hope,
something to grab on that was good, that wasn't just dark and depressing, you know. And it's true. It rings true. It absolutely is.
So the budget was $11 million. The domestic opening, so what it made in America opening weekend, was $1.5 million, which is crazy. It didn't catch on until the next weekend, apparently.
Just whole summer was just the summer of Star Wars, pretty much.
Yeah.
In '77, everyone was just going to see that movie.
Oh, and
times.
this was in the time when if you wanted to see a movie, this was really kind of the only way.
If you didn't catch it in theaters, when would you watch it?
Home release, and these would sit in the theater for forever.
Oh yeah.
My dad, at least, I think the number he told me was 7. He saw this 7 times in theaters, but that might even be low.
Yeah.
That's probably low.
Well, even up until like the 90s, you hear about Titanic having to send out new film reels because they played it so much. People went to movies back then.
Yeah.
So
it's definitely different nowadays.
Made
Man.
We got a
$7.97.
like there's a TV like this in every home now, so it's not as hard to find a good viewing experience.
Yeah, it's
at home.
so accessible to which is great that you can watch it.
Right.
But is it the way that a film should be watched? I don't know.
Made a lot of money though.
It made a lot of money. Yeah. So
Critic Score, Micah.
we're going to scores.
Yeah,
All
let's
right.
do scores online.
Rotten Tomatoes critic 93%, Rotten Tomatoes user 96%, Metacritic. I just did it all percentages. We can change it later, but Metacritic critic is 90%, Metacritic user 88%, Letterboxd 84%. That's out of 5. I don't remember what it was. IMDb 86%, so an 8.6 out of 10. Average 90. So a 9 out of 10.
Perfect 9 out of 10.
Perfect 9 out of
Yeah.
10.
Wow.
Which actually ties it for first place for our internet ranking. First place is Empire and A New
shit.
Hope.
Okay,
They can't
all
pick
right.
one.
I know they're very generous with the sequel films on their
Yeah.
scores online, so I'm interested to see where those shake out.
Yeah, that
Which
would be fun.
Hollywood Reporter also gave it first place.
Good.
If we're doing I feel like Star Wars A New Hope is, if I had to make a list of 50 movies that you had to see,
yeah,
this would be winning.
this would be on there.
If I had
sure.
to make a list of 20 movies that you had to see, this would be on there.
10,
10 movies? Yeah.
5.
5. I could see it making the list.
That's a good question.
Like Star Wars A New Hope is,
oh man, I'd have to think about
it would
that.
probably be one of the, I would have to choose, like, yeah, I would say I love Revenge of the Sith a
Right.
lot.
No, but I would. I wouldn't say
As
watch
far as
that,
like
yeah.
a time capsule movie for top 5,
Oh, you have to include New Hope.
you would
Yeah.
have to do A New Hope over any of the other movies.
Yeah.
If you do Empire Strikes Back, you won't get like,
I wouldn't do any of these other films.
Yeah.
And New Hope is, without a doubt, it's so perfectly contained. It has such a great ending. Like
I don't
you
think they
feel
expected to make a sequel.
No. I mean, George Lucas kept the rights for it in case it did well, but he expected this to fail
Yeah, and
spectacularly.
it opened up it opened up a lot of questions.
Yeah.
You could have had it,
yeah.
but
yeah.
The Hollywood Reporter ranking isn't the only crazy list that we have.
No, it's not.
We have a different list. Micah, would you like to
so
set this list up?
This is the real Hollywood Reporter. If we're going off of the Marvel
let
one,
me set the scene.
yeah,
It was December 2017,
long time ago.
a long time ago, galaxy far, far away.
Different time for Star Wars fans for sure.
I watched this movie that I thought was pretty great
Yeah.
called Star Wars: The Last Jedi.
Ooh, nice.
Yeah,
Sounds good.
You know, overall, there were some great things in there. There were some cool things.
It was very different.
There was
Yeah.
this casino planet that was sucky. I thought that whole plot line was garbage. It should be thrown in the trash. But you know what?
We can talk about that when we
Back
get to it.
then,
Yep.
Micah gave this second place in my gave
No.
Last Jedi second place,
But
and
That's
that's
New
why.
Hope,
That's
third
why it's
place.
here.
he gave A New Hope third place, guys.
Yeah, I found just randomly one day in my Snapchat memories that I decided to post my bold ranking.
He did get number 1 right.
Yeah, number 1, I did
But,
episode 3.
I will say this:
so we'll see if that holds up.
having Last Jedi at 2 is a crime.
Having Rogue One in 7th place is a crime.
That too, yeah.
I love that we're venturing through this together because I know where I stand. I know where Ben stands. But
This-
Micah, you are going to
I don't
determine
know where I
the
stand.
outcome on how fun a
I
lot
have
of these
not
podcasts
thought
are.
about. I have not legitimately thought about my ranking.
are
Like I
these-
just knew that I had to have a ranking because
Yeah.
everyone had a ranking.
Right.
Like
Yep.
I said it in the intro video is that everyone has a Star Wars ranking because people would go up to each other and say, "What's your favorite?
Yeah.
What's your ranking?" Because it's so easy to just say numbers like, "Oh yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9." Like easy.
Yeah.
Like you just rank them.
Well, yeah, that's the reason we're talking about this, because Last Jedi is 2.
We need to confirm
Why is Last Jedi too?
my new thoughts.
Yes, and it'll be very fun because we're gonna figure out. All right, are we gonna have a lot of Punisher Warzone podcasts where it's me and Micah ganged up against Ben? We're gonna have Howard the Duck podcast.
Punisher 2004
right?
podcast.
Punisher 2004 or
Warzone. I did not
Howard
like.
the Duck podcast where it's me and Ben ganged against Micah, which I highly doubt that will happen. We're gonna have more of a Amazing Spider-Man 2 where it's Ben and Micah versus Ethan. You know, it's gonna be fun.
Yeah.
And I think that dynamic starts now with.
So this A New Hope and Empire Strikes Back. Geez, my eyes watering like crazy right now.
I'm
It's
crying,
okay.
Ben.
You can cry.
Jeez, it's
Is
just
Binary Sun's
it's
still playing
beautiful,
there?
dude. It's just such a beautiful movie. But A New Hope and Empire, among the Star Wars community and among I think here is very incontroversial. But every single film after that becomes
a dogfight.
it really is.
Yes.
It's just a dogfight,
It's gonna be a trench run.
and
Mhm.
I am not in here to tell you you're wrong about this.
All right.
I really am not. I'm
But-
here to tell you why I think the way I think.
Yeah.
All right,
because-
Last Jedi, 10
yeah.
out of 10.
The
We're
Last
here
Jedi
to tell
yeah.
you why you're wrong, though. We'll help you out.
Well, that's the thing, man, because I'm not going to take that approach. But going into this, I think it would be good to set the parameters where we stand just so that the audience knows as we go into
Yes.
this.
Like what a 10 out of 10, what a 1 out of 1 means? Or
No,
what
because
a-
with Star Wars, I think it's very up in the air.
Mm.
It's not like usual films. These films mean a lot more just person to person. So it's very much more subjective than it is objective with these films. But Ethan, I want your take. I know we kind of got into it in our first one, but before we give scores in our little intro
Yeah.
video, I want your take on what you think of the original trilogy, just real quick, the prequel trilogy and the sequel trilogy.
Okay.
Those three trilogies. Go.
I'll
As a fan
say
right
this
now.
up top. I really like Star Wars. I do. The original trilogy is what I grew up watching. They are, when I think of Star Wars, I think of these three movies. I think of this movie. These are my favorite three. And prequels, a little less love from me. I like the third one. I like Revenge. I don't really like Phantom. I don't really like Attack. But I do appreciate the vision and the attempt that those movies are. So, yeah. And then the sequels, we'll have to see. Because
Have you rewatched those since theaters?
I have not. I've rewatched Force Awakens many times.
Yeah.
The Last Jedi I've watched once, and I watched it again at home, and I stopped halfway through. And
Same
then
here.
Rise I've seen twice in theaters. And I feel, as I really like Force Awakens, The Last Jedi, I'm gonna decide on this rewatch how I feel about it.
Mm.
But I know
It's true, yeah.
I know I don't like Rise from where I sit right now. But yeah, I'm an OG fan is where I'd put it, and I don't have that nostalgia that you guys have for the prequel trilogy because I remember watching those for the first time, whereas I don't remember watching these for the first time. I was still about 10 when I saw those, but my first introduction to the prequels was the Lego game. I played through all those levels before I saw those movies, but that's where I stand. So I'm going to defend these OG movies, which is also why the special editions kind of anger me too.
Okay. All right.
Mhm.
It's good to have a framework for the audience perspective for sure. Micah, how long has it been for you since you've rewatched all? Do you have a firm take on each one of the trilogies?
Last time I rewatched these, I watched 1 through 9 in 1 through 9 order in the car on the way to and from Tennessee one year. I forget when. It was like a couple years ago. That doesn't count for me. I don't feel like it would.
okay.
I don't feel like it would count. It was more of just like background to distract me
I
from
gotcha.
a car ride.
Yeah.
So I just put them all on. I wouldn't count that as a viewing.
Okay.
But as I've said, I grew up on the prequel and OT. There are, I think, the OT. Just initial thoughts. OT has better quality movies. Prequel has some higher quality moments, and then sequel trilogy, I just need more time with. I think there were some bad tastes in my mouth going into them. Prequel trilogy, real quick. I know Attack of the Clones is definitely my least favorite of the three. Phantom, I feel like, has a lot of charm to it. And then Revenge is peak. But yeah, Last Jedi, I guess I liked it at some point. I mean, we'll see. I'm really interested to watch these sequels from a critical standpoint, because I don't know. I was just kind of, Force Awakens was a cinematic experience. It felt like,
it definitely was.
It felt like how I would feel A New Hope would feel in theaters. Rise of Skywalker, I saw twice in theaters. Last Jedi, I've seen once, I believe, maybe twice in theaters. I've not seen it since.
Yeah, same.
Rise of Skywalker, I've not seen it since, except for, that car ride segment. But Rise of Skywalker, I don't even think I saw in that car ride. I think I stopped at 8.
Wow.
But yeah, Rogue One, Solo, I've seen Rogue One a bunch more times than Solo. Solo I've seen once. It was a folding laundry movie.
Yeah.
Clone Wars movie I've seen once. Ewok movies I've seen one of them once. I don't remember which one. Holiday Special I've not seen. Just to round it out.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very good. Very good. I am very firm in all of these ones. I don't know how much of my opinion will change except for the sequels. But I love all the original 6. I have such an affinity for those movies in particular. I would even say that I would call myself...
Just say it. We know what you're saying.
If the OT is a 9, the prequels are a 10 for me. But they're not. I just prefer that era of Star Wars over the original trilogy. I think it is Star Wars'
a lot of nostalgia for
most
the
unique, and
prequels.
but I think a lot of that is due to the Clone Wars animated television series. Without a doubt,
we're not touching.
No, we are not. We're
touching
only
the movie.
touching the movie. It's just a TV show.
But
never aired. In theaters,
think so. When we get to those, when that's factored in, the Clone Wars as a series, I think that elevates those prequels astronomical. It's huge the way it elevates those. But we're not reviewing that whole series, so you got to watch it for what it is. So that's what I'll be excited for.
That's what I view. I view those movies. I just do. I can't help it. In 2024, I view those movies in the context of where they fit around in that universe, the tie-in novels and everything like that. And to me, the prequels are a little bit more interesting to me. I'm not saying they're better films, because I do not think they are, but I prefer being in that era.
So I guess if we're doing
Star
era,
Wars.
I like the dark time and the Empire.
I would
love
agree.
the
I like
Empire
prequel.
era.
I like the I actually kind of like the politics in the prequels.
Dude,
I know people
so
dog on
interesting.
it, but I find it very interesting.
I love it.
I love courtroom
it.
dramas, so it's kind of a similar vein. I mean, it's like
I just
people
like
sitting and talking.
The parallels you can draw in real life just to the politics of this and our history. There's a lot to it, and we'll get to it when we talk about it. But Force Awakens, I have a lot of nostalgia for. First one in theaters. I remember liking Force Awakens. I have not seen it in a long time. And The Last Jedi and The Rise of Skywalker, I abhor. So it's going to be interesting to see those movies again, because I have a ton of hatred for those movies. I hate.
Wait till all the sequels rank higher than the prequels in our average. That'll be fun.
I wouldn't.
Yeah.
Well, I would really. It would bug the crap out of me if that was the case. It really would, because when we get to it, we'll get to it. But
so explain how scores work for all the millions of fans that are joining us for the first time on this podcast, because we're doing Star Wars.
Well, not that there is a specific element, but I think just us ranking these on a 1 to 10 scale, like I would give this objectively, this movie is, where it's at, but for me, it's either worse or higher. Like objectively, The Last Jedi is, it's really well made. It's a really well made film.
I mean, it's what J.J.
As
Abrams,
Ryan Johnson, as a Star Wars film, I absolutely hate it. So that comes into my score more than anything else because of how I look at it. It's not going to be, I don't review this movie like I review Oppenheimer as a standalone thing.
Right.
I fit it into the context.
Okay.
So that has to be taken
and then
into
it all
account.
is built on where you build that context around. For example, like this is what I build Star Wars around. I build it around A New Hope. Whereas you would be building it around from a prequel perspective, per se, right? Or no?
Yes, but it's more of just, I mean, we'll talk about it when we get to it. But
for how we do scores on this is the three of us give it a score out of 10, and then that is averaged out into a singular score, and then that is where it fits on our ranking.
Yes.
No question on where this will fit today because it's our first film.
Gonna be number one. But what score is it going to have?
Yeah.
Let's get into it, gentlemen. Let's start with Ethan.
Yes.
What do you got?
So when we did our announcement video and you asked me, Ben, Ethan, what is your favorite Star Wars film? I said this one. And upon a rewatch, there you go. Micah gave me a 3.5 out of 10 in the spreadsheet. That's what I want to stick with. Keep that in there. This movie no, I'm kidding. I love this movie. I love the way that the world is unfolded to you. I love the characters and the way that we meet the characters and the ensemble cast. I think if we compare this ensemble to any movie, this is my favorite ensemble that any Star Wars movie has, just because, you have this ensemble moving forward, but you lose Alec Guinness. Alec Guinness is part of this one. Peter Cushing's a part of this one. I think this is my favorite cast of any Star Wars movie. And I love the Death Star. I love the Death Star as a concept, as an idea. I love the Empire and how they've taken over this galaxy, and we get to see it, in all the weeds of it. And we start off with this little farm boy, Luke. I love the David versus Goliath, and you see that with the Star Destroyer to start the movie. This one, we watched it last year. For us, me and Ben were kind of going to do this, not to this extent. I really liked it then. I like it even more now. I'm going to give this a 9.5 out of 10.
9.5.
9.5. And I'm leaving room above that because I want to see where the next two
Not
fit.
as good as those 10 and 10s in the Marvels.
I want to clarify that. That's all out the door, Micah.
Okay. I will be retaining
The
my
Marvel scores mean nothing now. Those 10s, gone. Okay. This isn't me saying that this is lesser than those Marvel movies because they're not. It's not.
Yeah, totally separate.
Separate
Totally
list,
separate.
Micah.
Yes.
For me, it is not. I will be for my scores. I will be maintaining my
your integrity,
my scale.
Yeah.
Okay.
My scale of 1 to 10.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think it's impossible for me to do that with these movies.
Just because I want to rank my whole list. I like having a rank of all of my movies.
Yeah, we've seen your watch list on Letterboxd.
It's insane.
3 million films in there.
Yeah.
But I like a 9.5 because this is Star Wars to me. So I can't imagine it getting much better than this. But I leave that little room in case Empire, because I know Empire's great. And Return is controversial, but I love Return. Yeah. So,
we're going to leave Micah's opinions for last, seeing as he has not gotten a say. But I will say very quickly that I really love this movie. I'm leaving you the best for last, man. You're the one who the audience hasn't heard your opinion yet.
Let the Wookiee win, all right?
We'll give you
I'll rip your arms off.
Don't rip my arms off,
Micah. You got to wait a couple movies before you get your medal. Okay.
Ooh.
It's true.
You don't get your medal in this movie.
Yeah, right. I will say one thing. This movie is insane at how easy it is to just kind of drop into. From a critical, I try and watch this from a critical perspective, especially now because we're trying to watch it for this movie and for this podcast. And it's kind of hard to sit there, and I wanted to take notes, and then I just got swept away by the story. Again, a movie I've seen a billion times, and it's just magical, epic, iconic. I'm going to give Star Wars episode. I've never scored these. I've only ranked the films. So I would give this I thought long and hard on this. I'm going to give this a 9 out of 10. I love Star Wars Episode 4: A New Hope. So with that being said, Micah.
Was that the same score you gave it last time?
I don't remember what I gave it. I know it was either 9 or 9.5.
Both lower last time.
Did we? Okay.
Yeah, we were.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting. Personally, I think Star Wars is one of the greatest movies of all time. I almost said Episode 4: New Hope, but I watched Star Wars.
You did. You watched Star Wars.
I
Yes.
watched Star Wars.
The first Star Wars.
And this is one of the greatest movies of all time. It doesn't hold your hand. We've talked about it before. The special effects are so masterful and but they could be better, right? It's not all the way there. The story is amazing. The lore that they give you is so magical. I use the word first, Ben.
We don't use it a lot on this podcast.
I just love the set design, the character design, the world is, I mean, it's no surprise. This built Star Wars. This built the franchise. And without a solid foundation that this movie builds upon, no Star Wars movie leaves you with as many questions unanswered as this one does. It opens up so many different rabbit trails that you can go off of, that so many different parts of Star Wars do go off of. There were tons of books written between 4 and 5. There were so many movies spun off from, the Clone Wars spun off from, the whole concept of the clones came from this movie. It's crazy. And the cinematography, the score, the colors, the acting, everything composes this just absolutely fantastic movie. And I feel like I'm less nostalgic about the OT than I am the prequel trilogy. So I feel like I'm less blinded by the nostalgia goggles for this when I say that it is a 9.7 out of 10.
Oh, I thought we were going to get the first 10 out of 10 from Micah.
No.
I thought it was going to be. If anyone, I feel like
I am still leaving room. This is not a perfect movie. The special effects are not 100%. I said that already. It is an old movie. It doesn't hold up as well. It's old. It's old. And the special edition, the revamps that George Lucas did help to bring that up. But overall, I feel like where it counts, it holds up. One other thing that doesn't really hold up very well is the speeder. If you're looking for it, the speeder really, it's definitely just Vaseline on the lens.
Yo, dude, I was looking at that.
But you know what? It is so bold of them to do that. It is right there. It is bright as day.
More about the idea of it than anything else.
This is such a bold movie, and it goes where no film has gone before. It's crazy.
True. Very true.
If you look at movies before this, 2001: A Space Odyssey, which came out 65, I think, the technical advancements are there. The story is there. The score is there. And it's Star Wars, man. It's Star Wars. And to give it any lower than that, I feel would be a sin for me. I rank this as high as I did Logan in the Marvel movie marathon.
Wow. Cool.
No other movie is a 9.7 in our ranking so far. So I almost gave this a 9.8, but I feel like it didn't emotionally impact me a way that other films could. Maybe Empire could jump up higher than that. But this is, as far as I know right now, this could be the greatest Star Wars movie that we watched.
It's a high bar starting.
It's a high bar.
Start off.
I forget how much I love this movie, and every time I watch it, I'm like, oh yeah. I think I forget it because it's just Star Wars. Like everyone knows, right?
Forget, and then you watch it again, and you're like, wow.
Yeah, you forget how much this impacts you.
It's really good. Yeah. Yep.
But that's Star Wars.
With a score of 9, a 9.5, and 9.7, that averages out to
a 9.4 out of 10, which the internet ranking was a 9.0.
Nice.
Okay.
Ranking it out at first place.
That is a high bar for the first film.
Pretty close to the Rotten Tomatoes user, 9.6.
Much different than the way we started our Marvel movie marathon with the very low bar that was Howard the Duck. So it's it's cool. This going through these movies is going to be really, really fun.
Yeah.
I'm really excited to do this with you guys. And
Yes. We've got a lot of cool things coming up.
Yeah.
We promised controversy. There will be controversy coming up, but this is just, it's a very self-contained story. It's hard to find almost anything wrong with it just because of how pure it is in Hollywood. And
3 years between movies.
oh yeah, man.
Wow.
Those are OG Star Wars movies.
hey, not 3 years, just 1 year. You got our next project.
Oh, that's true.
the Star Wars Holiday Special.
No.
To go listen to that podcast, you'll have to hop
You'll have 2
in
spots you can
your
listen to.
TARDIS. Go scroll down through our archive and you will find the holiday special. Me and
Just
Ben
a few
covered
weeks
that.
back.
Yes.
Covered that a few years ago. So go check that out.
Yes, that was a lot of fun podcasting on it.
Yeah, not
I will
watching
say
it.
that. Not watching it. But next week, very, very, I mean, some people say it's even better than A New Hope. We have Star Wars
One of the
Episode
greatest
5.
sequels of all time.
The Empire Strikes Back. That's right. That's next week. I cannot wait to watch
It's been
this.
a while since I've seen this one because we did our we tried doing this last year.
Yeah.
So I was like, all right, I'll wait for Empire until we podcast about it. So it's been a while. So, because I think about watching this movie like all the time.
Oh, yeah.
But it was that patience that no, I got to save it for when we do it for the podcast.
I'm going to commit right now. I'm going to watch Project 4K80. The 4K.
Okay.
It's in alpha right now. They're still working on that one, but Return of the Jedi's done. They do have a 70 millimeter edition that they found. I might watch that, but it's kind of rough.
Okay.
It's not as tuned as the 35 mil.
So you're going to stay with the raw
I will.
theatrical cuts.
The only
of
one
these
that I'm
movies,
like, ooh, which one do I do is for Revenge of the Sith. I found a fulcrum cut with ties in the season finale of Clone Wars.
I would almost veto. I don't want to veto it because you do, of course, what you want.
I'll
but
veto it.
You, You got to veto that because it's incorporating other media into it.
Maybe I'll watch
Oh,
it
it
separately.
absolutely is.
Definitely watch it. Yeah.
It's like a 4.5 hour experience or something crazy.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I mean,
it would be like
we'll
if
get
we
to it, but
if we threw Rogue One at the beginning of this, like
and counted that as part. Yeah.
I mean, different mediums, or if you threw in Rogue One and then Rebels into it, that's what it would be like. You don't want to do that.
No, and I feel like, I mean, do what you want, but to give a truly objective rating.
No, me and Ben were here first. We veto that, Micah.
All right.
Yeah.
I will watch
as
the
original co-hosts. You've been booted. Don't make us kick you off.
Ouch. Dang. Does it have a 79% Revenge of the Sith? That's higher than I expected. A surprise, to be
Shorter than
sure.
expected.
But a welcome one. So next week we have The Empire Strikes Back, folks.
Nice.
Tune in next week. If you're following us along on the marathon, watch Empire this week. I think I'm watching it tomorrow. I cannot wait. It's been a while since I've seen it, so look forward to that. For now, this is Ben Rayside.
This is Ethan Westloff.
This is Micah Head.
Just keep rolling, Ben. And remember,
The Force will be with you.
Always.